Hey guys, it's me again. So, yes, as you can clearly see, this is another rant video, and this one is also unscripted, just because I really would like to go off. So, yeah, as you can clearly tell from the background, this is once again another Marvel video, specifically the MCU. And now, here's another very fresh new topic that we have to talk about, discussing the MCU. Now, before I start, I do want to make a quick disclaimer. Everything I'm saying is strictly my own opinion. Everything I say is my own opinion and my own thought and my own, I guess you could say, hot take. But ultimately, everything in this video is strictly my opinion. So, because of that, I would really like it if the comments would remain civil due to that. I know a lot of people will not have the same opinion on this topic, and that's perfectly fine. So, yes, just quick disclaimer, everything in this video is strictly my own opinion, so please do not take it so seriously. And if I realize I'm getting too heated, then I will immediately try to stop myself. But ultimately, like I said, this is my own opinion. If you do not agree with me, that is fine. That's perfectly fine. So, and I would also appreciate if you would act the same with the comments. So if there are diverging comments, please be civilized, as ultimately this is a very sensitive topic. So that is why let's just try to keep it civil and let's please respect each other's opinions. Thank you. So, I'll get straight to the point with today's topic. So, if you guys didn't know, for the last few days it has been San Diego Comic-Con, because it's July. And yesterday was Marvel's panel for San Diego Comic-Con, where they talk more about what their future is like, as well as some movies and projects they are already in the works, like Captain America Brave New World, giving us more information on the Fantastic Four, and finally confirming what's happening with the next two Avengers movies. And let's just say it's something that I'm very sensitive about. So, yes, I made a video about this last week when discussing how Marvel is handling the character of Kang the Conqueror for the Multiverse Saga, and how I was very upset with it. And now, I also briefly discussed about how rumors were going that maybe they were going to get the Russos back to do Avengers 5 and bring in Doctor Doom. For the longest time, I was like, no, I don't think that would be a good idea, and I would hope that wasn't the plan, because I felt like it would be very much of a desperate attempt on Marvel's take. Well, 1 week later, San Diego Comic-Con has came and went, and yesterday Marvel had their panel. And yes, if you haven't figured it out, yes, Marvel has confirmed the Russo brothers are coming back for Avengers 5 and Avengers 6, and they have confirmed that Doctor Doom is going to be the new main villain. But here where it gets kind of ridiculous is that they brought out Robert Downey Jr., who of course famously played Tony Stark, Iron Man, in the MCU, and has confirmed he's going to be playing, and I quote, Victor Von Doom. That's what the Russos said, is that only one man can pull off Victor Von Doom. So it's clear that it's not really like a Tony Stark variant. No, this is Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom himself. Whenever or not he's just a multiverse variant is pretty unknown at the moment. But yes, as well as also confirming that Avengers 5 is now called Doomsday. And, yeah. Safe to say with my tone, I definitely am not a fan of this. I talked about it in my rant on how Marvel is handling Kang's character, is the fact that I was very upset and very frustrated how Marvel would do this. And my opinion still stands. Figuring this out since last night, I took time to process it, and ultimately I'm still not a fan of it. Lately, this has definitely been simmering under my brain for a while, because it was an ongoing rumor. So I was kind of mentally preparing myself for something like this, and the truth is, I'm not really surprised, but I'm just disappointed. Okay? I said it before in my video, yes, I would like to see Doctor Doom too. I want to see Doctor Doom in the MCU. I want him to see a big bad. I want him to be a main villain. But at the same time, I also said in that video, first, they need to do something with Kang's character. But no, Marvel has definitely made it clear at this point, they have no idea what to do. They have no idea what they're doing, and they have no direction. Because now, they're pulling out Doctor Doom and bringing back Robert Downey Jr., and are just not really considering Kang. Which, to this day, does not make any sense. And I know people are gonna kind of bring out, well, it's like the Russos are back, Robert Downey Jr. is back, it's Doctor Doom, who cares about Kang? I do. I do. Why? Because it really says a lot about Marvel's reputation now. It's the fact that it really shows that Marvel is just really scraping the bottom of the barrel about what's going on now with their cinematic universe. Because now, ever since Quantumania, Marvel has just panicked about what they're gonna do with Kang's character and how people feel about the multiverse saga. And now, here, we have what their solution is. That they're just gonna write out Kang, and they're just gonna bring in Doctor Doom out of nowhere. And might I add, they confirmed that Avengers 5 is coming in 2026. Secret Wars is coming the year following in 2027. Basically giving us 3 years until the end of the multiverse saga. So you're telling me that in 3 years, you're gonna build up Doctor Doom's character, have him have a connection with the multiverse, have him be the main antagonist, have him be the one to interact with the Avengers, have him have this big storyline and character arc in Avengers 5. Because just like what Avengers Infinity War did with Thanos, where he was the protagonist, he was the main character, he was the one who got more character development, and we got more of his motivation, his backstory, and why he was the main villain. Avengers 5 would have done the same thing with Kang. For people who are bashing Kang's character, for people saying that Kang was not a good villain, for people saying that Kang would have been just a bad villain and it's good that they're getting rid of him, Avengers 5 would have taken all that away. Keep in mind, what we've been seeing for the last 5 years has been nothing more than just setup and building up Kang's presence in the MCU. Building up his character and showing more about why he is what he is, and showing more of his relationship with the multiverse. And it all goes back to him, because he founded the multiverse. He founded the multiverse, he was the one who learned of its origins, his variants were the ones who collided on wanting to try to control the multiverse, so it's clear that Kang is more relevant than Doctor Doom, just because of the fact that he is the one who learns more about the multiverse. He is the one who has more of a relationship, even to the Avengers, because as a character with multiple timelines and multiple variants, he has fought the Avengers on several timelines, and he has first-hand encountered Ant-Man, and Ant-Man already knows what Kang is capable of. He already knows who Kang is, and already knows more about his plan and his motives. But Avengers 5 would have done more. It would have explored more in his backstory, would have given him more depth, and would have given him more development, and explained why he's so relevant, about why he's the main villain. And it's the fact that Marvel is basically saying, for the last 5 years, we basically just wasted our time. For people excited to actually see Kang's character, for people who watched and actually liked Quantumania, for people who liked Loki, it's the fact that they're basically saying, you basically just wasted your time, because it was all building up to Kang's character, showing more of his influence in the MCU, showing his hold and his touch on the MCU, showing just how much of a presence he has. And they're basically wiping all that away just so they can bring in Doctor Doom. It does not make any sense. That's what really frustrates me, is the fact that you're just writing out Kang's character out of nowhere, and you are not doing anything with him. You're not solidly finishing his story. People are saying his story is wrapped up in Loki, with how Loki ended. And it's the fact that how Loki ended, I won't give away any spoilers, but it's the fact that, oh, there's no use for Kang's character anymore, they finished his story. What about the Council of Kings, as we saw in Quantumania? And truth, there is so much more you can do with Kang's character, because again, he is the one who's been built up the most. He is the one that they've been setting up the most, and he's the one who has more of a presence in the MCU. He has more of a hold on the MCU rather than Doctor Doom. The fact that they were basically telling us that we're just wasting our time with Quantumania and Loki and other projects that will have the multiverse all because of Kang's presence and his character. It's that fact alone is what really hurts and why I'm so frustrated. And that's what frustrates me, is the fact that you're basically just pulling out a Hail Mary. Because you're just bringing in Doctor Doom and you're just getting rid of Kang out of nowhere. Now, to be fair, it's still likely they could recast him, and maybe he'll be featured in the movie. Maybe he'll be a co-villain, because this is also what happens in the comics. As you can see with my background, yes, in some versions of the comics, Kang and Doom have actually formed together, and they've actually fought each other. So it's still likely Kang could be involved. But still, the fact that they're saying that Kang is no longer the central antagonist is the issue. Is the fact that you're basically just telling us that 5 years of setup has been for nothing. And it makes no sense why Marvel is doing this. It makes no sense why they can't just recast Kang. And even if making it Avengers Doomsday doesn't matter, because the show should have been the Kang Dynasty. Because the show should have been more about Kang's character, explaining more of his backstory, more of his motivation, and more about why he has such a hold on the multiverse. It's the fact alone that they're just getting rid of all of that and just telling the fan base that you wasted your time. And now, we get to talk about Doctor Doom. Because here's another major issue. Is that yes, everybody has been loving this. The fact that Robert Downey Jr. is back, the Russo brothers are back, and they're finally bringing in Doctor Doom. There's just one issue. They are rushing things. They are rushing this because A, Robert Downey Jr. has already had his time in the MCU, and he is a very prolific actor. He's a very popular, beloved actor. So because of that, he's a big shot, and he'll be extremely expensive. It's the fact alone of how they ended off Tony Stark's character in the MCU with Avengers Endgame. The fact that we haven't seen Iron Man since. We've seen his presence, but we really haven't seen him personally. Or even any multiverse variants of him, because they've been shying away from that, making it clear they want to move on from Iron Man. I get that, yes, and I actually prefer that. Especially because when Secret Wars comes out, it'll softly reboot the MCU, and we'll get a new Iron Man. The issue is that you're bringing back Robert Downey Jr., making it clear they're doing this just for the star power. Just because people recognize Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, and he's basically the villain now. Or so we think. Because keep in mind, with Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, aka Doctor Doom, it's the fact that he's not really playing Doctor Doom. Like, they say he's playing Victor Von Doom, but it's clear this isn't the main Doctor Doom. And I don't even think it's the Doctor Doom from the Fantastic Four movie. Because they have confirmed the Fantastic Four takes place in a different universe. So, either way, if this isn't Tony Stark, it doesn't matter, just because the star power itself really shows that this is just a marketing stunt. It really shows Marvel is just so desperate to garner relevance and attention that now they're just pulling out the Russos and Robert Downey Jr. out of nowhere. And it really does not make any sense. It really just shows how Marvel does not have any confidence in themselves. And that hurts, because I want Marvel to have confidence in themselves. I want them to do better. The way they need to do that is to take risk. Do something different. Get out of their comfort zone. But they're not. Even with the controversy with Kang, even with the flop of Quantumania, there was still potential. All they needed to do was to get new writers, get new directors, just recasted Kang, and just told a better story. The fact that they feel obligated to just call the Russo brothers, call Robert Downey Jr., give him a gigantic paycheck with their Disney money, really shows how Marvel does not have any faith in themselves anymore. And that just hurts. It really just shows how desperate Marvel has become just because of the fact of how they've been flopping and doing poorly. But to be honest, I would be fine with that. I would be fine that Marvel is flopping, just because of the fact that it shows that Marvel just needs to improve. Okay? Nothing is perfect, and the MCU was never perfect. They've had good movies, great movies, but they also had some poor projects. Like even with Phase 4, like even before Phase 4, they had some just poor under-the-radar projects. Like The Incredible Hulk, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second movie, and it's even just the fact that, like, Thor: The Dark World, and even Avengers Age of Ultron has gone some flack. The problem, however, is that Marvel has taken their flops too seriously, straight to the point where they feel like they need to just pull out a Hail Mary. Because that's all this is. The idea that Marvel feel like they can't do anything with Kang anymore, and they need to bring in Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, it just feels so tasteless. It's the fact that Marvel just feels like they don't have any faith in themselves. That they feel like they just need to bring out Robert Downey Jr. and bring out the Russos, even though they've made it clear that era is over. And, like, this is what I mean when I say it's a marketing stunt. But the fact that, yes, they know they've been flopping. They know people aren't impressed by Kang. So what did they do? They just throw all of that away and just rush out things just so late last minute. Because that's like the real conflict that's been going on now. Is the fact that, yes, Doctor Doom in the MCU, that should be cool. But it's not. Just because of the fact that, A, it's not even the real Doctor Doom. It's just a Tony Stark variant. Or maybe it's not Tony Stark. Maybe it is Victor Von Doom. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't hit as hard just because this character is now being introduced. And as I said, we are 3 years away from the end of the multiverse saga. You're telling me that we should be excited for this? You're telling me that they're going to pull this off? You're telling me that in 3 years, we're going to see the end of a very poignant story. A very introspective and emotional story about the multiverse, about timelines. All told from a character that has been introduced so late last minute out of nowhere. You're telling me that out of nowhere, a random inclusion from an actor that, yes, a lot of people love, but his time in the MCU has been over, is gonna immediately save the MCU. It's not. No, I said it before in my Kang rant video, is that I think bringing in Doctor Doom would be such a terrible mistake, because you're undoing 5 years of story building with Kang's character. The fact that Marvel just feels so afraid of Kang's character and the idea of wanting to recast him, that they're outright just erasing his character and just bringing in Robert Downey Jr. as a multiverse Doctor Doom. It does not make any sense. Because yes, I know Secret Wars is more of a Doctor Doom story. Fine. But where does Doctor Doom fit in Avengers 5? Nowhere. Nowhere. There is no reason for him to be in Avengers 5. In Secret Wars, maybe. But in Avengers 5, no. They've done too much with Kang's character. So the fact that they're just feeling like they need to erase him, write him out of the MCU, just bring in Doctor Doom out of nowhere, that's not even the real Doctor Doom. Keep in mind, Robert Downey Jr. is playing a variant. So, it's not even Victor Von Doom. Not from the main timeline. I don't even know if he's from the Fantastic Four timeline. But either way, people still feel like that this is a good idea, just because you're bringing in Doctor Doom and bringing in an interesting character. Here's the problem. They're doing this so late last minute. Marvel had potential with Kang, just as long as they just recasted his character and just brought in a new actor and just brought in new writers and just made Avengers 5 the Kang Dynasty. Now calling it Doomsday makes no sense, because this really shows how aimless and directionless Marvel has become. Because now, how do we go from Kang to Doctor Doom? Especially like a Doctor Doom variant. That's not even the real canon mainline Victor Von Doom. It's just Robert Downey Jr. And it's the fact that it doesn't even fit with the character's actual heritage in the comics. So it's the fact that they feel, and that's what I mean, it's the fact that they're not even doing anything close to the source material. They know that Robert Downey Jr. is going to turn faces. They know it's going to bring in money. So yes, call up Robert Downey Jr., call up the Russos, and just write in Doctor Doom as the villain. That does not make any sense. How can you tell me that after 5 years of Kang and Kang's presence in the MCU, how would Doctor Doom fit in the multiverse saga? Nowhere. You're telling me that he's going to be just automatically thrown in. And it hurts just because, again, we are 3 years away from the end of the multiverse saga. 3 years till the end of the storyline. And you're telling me that you're going to have Doctor Doom end it all. That does not make any sense. Kang still needs to be involved in some way or form. Seriously, just recast Marvel. I do not understand what the issue is. Why can't they just recast Kang? So what if the movie was a flop, Quantumania? So what if he's been getting bad reception? All you needed to do was just to recast and make Avengers 5 his story, so people would actually enjoy his character. Just like what they did with Thanos. As I also said in my rant, imagine if people bashed Thanos the first time they saw him. Would they have done a new villain? Would it have been sloppy? Maybe. But it definitely would have been sloppy because it's like teasing Thanos and not doing anything with him. His character has just been taken care of off-screen. And I hear people say that maybe they're gonna have Doctor Doom kill Kang off-screen. That would not make any sense because, again, they've shown how much of a presence he has with his variants. How can killing one Kang possibly just introduce him as the villain? No. It's probably likely that they need to just recast and even have Kang be a supporting villain. Because as I said, Kang and Doom have met, aligned, and even fought each other in the multiverse, for the multiverse, in the comics. You could even have that be that here. Just have it that Doom and Kang are working together in Avengers 5, but then Doom betrays Kang. And that probably ends off his story. And then, Secret Wars is when we bring in Doctor Doom as the villain. Because that's the thing. Avengers 5 should be Kang as the protagonist. Have more in Kang's character. Have more of his backstory. Because of that, have it be in the end that maybe he fights Doom to save the multiverse. Because of that, Doom wins, Kang dies, sacrifices himself trying to save the multiverse, he creates the battle world, and because of that, Doom tries to control the battle world, making him the antagonist in Secret Wars. That would be a much more better idea. But either way, it's still sloppy because, again, you're bringing out Doctor Doom 3 years away from the end of the multiverse saga. 3 years to the end of the saga. And you're telling me you're perfectly fine with writing out 5 years of storytelling with Kang's character just to introduce this Hail Mary. It does not make any sense at all. It does not make any sense how Marvel is just so unconfident of themselves to not just simply recast Kang, take the risk of recasting Kang, bringing in new writers. Instead, now you're doing this by bringing in Doctor Doom. That does not make any sense. It does not make any sense. Just because of, like, how can you write in how Doctor Doom has a presence? How are you going to write in this poignant story, an emotional story, with Doctor Doom as the villain? You can't, because he has no relationship with any of the Avengers. And again, yes, it's Robert Downey Jr., but it's not Tony Stark. It's a variant. It's not as impactful. Especially just because of the fact that if this is a variant, how are you going to introduce his backstory, his motivation, his connection to the multiverse? Why does he care about fighting the Avengers? No, all of that was given to Kang. Because Kang fought Ant-Man. Kang has gone through multiple timelines, fighting the Avengers, killing the Avengers, because of his hold on the multiverse. Here has more of a relationship to the multiverse, and has more potential to be an antagonist to the Avengers than Doctor Doom. How can you automatically bring out Doctor Doom's character out of nowhere, and again, saying that it's a multiverse variant of Robert Downey Jr. as a version of Doom, but not the version of Doom? It does not hit, because they're telling me that our final villain is a variant that has no relationship to the Avengers, no setup, no backstory, no motivation whatsoever. That is the thing that frustrates me the most. The fact that, and again, it's nothing more than a marketing stunt, because Marvel knows that nostalgia works. So you're bringing back the Russos, you're bringing in Robert Downey Jr., just wiping out Kang's character, with no care in regard to the fans that actually genuinely was excited for his character, all just because they want to make money. I get it's a business, yes, but they have no idea how much this hurts their reputation, because now, it's the fact that now Marvel's going to be seen as the fact that, hey, nostalgia works. They're just seen as just another corporate company, especially because they're owned by Disney and work with Disney. That absolutely hurts, because they had potential to make such a great story with Kang, to make Kang such a good villain. And the fact that people, and again, I know Kang wasn't beloved by everyone, and I'm not trying to patronize you, and I'm not going to patronize you. And let's not patronize each other in the comments, please. But still, it makes no sense how Marvel is just so against having to recast Kang, and now they're just doing in Doctor Doom. It doesn't make sense. And what frustrates me the most is the fact that what frustrates me the most is that this shows how Marvel is just so unconfident in themselves. How they're just so insecure, the fact that they feel threatened by the fact of how they're doing so poorly. Instead of just taking that as like a chance to improve, they're just using that as an excuse to write out 5 years of storytelling of Kang and introduce a new character out of nowhere, with no build-up whatsoever, no relationship to the Avengers, all just because they need to make money. You could still make money with Kang if you just brought in new writers. For everyone who hated Kang's character, guess what? Avengers 5 would have improved that. He would have been the main character, we would have gotten more lore on his character, more backstory, more of his motives. All this could be achieved if they just recasted, but no. Kevin Feige and Marvel feel like they just need to call up the Russos and give Robert Downey Jr. a giant check. It does not make sense, just the fact that you're now bringing in a new character out of nowhere, bringing in Doctor Doom out of nowhere, with no build-up, no setup whatsoever. And the fact that we are just 3 years away from the end of the multiverse saga, it just hurts. Because you know the fact that they are going to rush things. You know, people keep saying, how are they rushing things? How's this bad? You haven't seen the movie yet. I know. Why? Because from a narrative standpoint, that will not make any sense. How can you just bring in a new character out of nowhere? How can you just bring in Doctor Doom's character with no build-up? The fact that we are 3 years away from the end of the story, and the fact that they said they're going to start filming next year. Where would that make sense? With everything that we've been setting up, with the projects that even haven't been released, it's the fact that, how would that work out? How would the Avengers want to fight Doctor Doom? Even if it's like, he looks like Tony Stark and is Robert Downey Jr., it doesn't matter, because that's not Doctor Doom. That's just a variant. And they genuinely think that we're supposed to care. They genuinely think that this is going to be a good story, just because of the fact that it's Doctor Doom, it's Robert Downey Jr., it's the Russos. No! It doesn't make sense because Doctor Doom has no reason to fight the Avengers. He has not been set up, he has not been built up. So the fact that you're just introducing him out of nowhere is what's going to hurt the movie. Because again, they're going to start filming next year. Where would that make sense? How is he just now being introduced into the story? Where has he been? What has he been doing? What's his motive? What's his backstory? We don't know. And now, the fact that you're going to start filming next year, how is that going to work out? Why would the Avengers want to rally together and fight Doctor Doom? Because he's a threat to the multiverse? How is he a threat to the multiverse? He's not. Kang is. Kang is a threat to the multiverse. He's the one who has more of a connection to the multiverse. Why can't they just recast Kang and just bring in new writers to make the story better? No. The fact that now they're bringing in Doctor Doom just so they can introduce a new villain out of nowhere really shows just the fact that they're so unconfident. And the fact that because again, with everything they've been setting up with Kang's character, with his backstory and his variants, and his hold on the MCU, How is this all gonna be written out of nowhere? That does not make any sense, Marvel. Because now, they are writing out Kang's character and bringing in Doctor Doom. Now, to be fair, it's still unconfirmed what are they gonna do with Kang, whether or not he's gonna be recasted or not. But I don't even know anymore. I don't even know if it's worth the hope for the best for Marvel. Because it's clear they're just taking the opposite direction. Instead of just improving, they're just now doing nostalgia baiting. They're doing this Hail Mary of just bringing in Doctor Doom out of nowhere. So in my personal opinion, this is just a gigantic mistake. And I can safely say I'm not excited for the next few movies. I'm not. I'm really not. I haven't even seen Deadpool and Wolverine. Because I don't know if it's worth being excited for Marvel anymore, because I know where this is leading. It's leading to a new character that's being brought out of nowhere, with no build-up whatsoever, all just because they're too afraid to take risks. And now they're bringing out Robert Downey Jr. by giving them a gigantic paycheck and Russos. So they're just nothing more than being reduced to another greedy corporation. So instead of just recasting Kang, they're just bringing out this Hail Mary. It hurts. It absolutely hurts. Because I want Marvel to do better. I was excited for Kang. I was excited for the Kang Dynasty. But it's clear we're not going to get any of that anymore. I feel like Marvel just at this point is just taking the opposite direction on how to improve. So because of that, I don't really know what else to say or believe at this point. So all I'll really say right now is that if you're excited, good for you. Good for you. I wish I could be like that, but I can't. And I'm not. Just because it just really shows how Marvel just does not believe in themselves anymore. So for me personally, I'm not a fan of this decision, and I really feel like the next few movies are not going to be great at all. I feel like the movie is going to flop. I'm sorry. I think it's not going to do well, at least. I think it's not going to do well just because, again, it'll be so sloppy and it really shows how directionless and aimless Marvel has become. Instead of just recasting Kang and finishing his story properly, they're just going to introduce Doctor Doom that's not even Doctor Doom and just using him for star power. I genuinely just cannot wait for the multiverse saga to end so we can finally be out of this dark era of the MCU. But ultimately, that's just my take. What do you guys think? Do you agree or do you not? And again, if you don't, please be civilized in the comments. So yes, another rant video. This felt good. And again, it's unscripted. If I plan to do more of these in the futures, I promise I'll try to make a script and be more organized. But right now, I just really needed to vent out because Marvel is just... What are you doing, Kevin Feige? What are you doing anymore?